This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Another attempt at the Indiana Jones movie is before us. It will be the final attempt, but we've already received plenty of promising news from none other than Spielberg himself, who, after seeing it, said, "Damn, I thought I was the only one who knew how to make one of these." This is exciting news for those who love Indiana Jones and also for VFX-interested tech nerds like us. But what could be so interesting in today's world of non-stop VFX candy for us to be so excited to talk about? Well, that would be the scenes of a young Harrison Ford, and no, not from the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
That cross is an important artifact. It belongs in a museum.
This will be the digitally de-aged scenes for the 80-year-old actor in the upcoming film, which is said to have 30+ minutes of de-aged Indy for us to see on screen. Now, we all know Lucasfilms and Disney have been trying to do this for a while with interesting results. But will this be any better? And have they finally figured out how to make this look halfway decent? Well, buckle your seatbelt, scan your face to continue and sign these terms and conditions so you can't sue us when we sell your likeness. It's time to take a look at how AI, deepfakes, and VFX artists dip into the eternal fountain of youth and make you look Botox to perfection, and whether or not Indiana Jones will look all shiny and new or end up like this guy. As cool as it is that Harrison Ford got a nice facelift for this movie, he's not the only one that has a fresh new look. That's right, our sponsor Squarespace just released their new Fluid Engine, the next generation website design system that allows you to completely customize your site for both desktop and mobile. Stretch your imagination online with Fluid Engine, built in and ready to go on any new Squarespace site. Now you can just click, drag, and move objects around easier than ever to achieve your creative vision for your website. Give it a try today by heading over to squarespace.com right now for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/framevoyager to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Now, back to some deepfakes. First things first, what is deepfake? Well, it's the thing that will eventually blur the lines between reality and virtual so much that the world will end when AI figures out it can just imitate us all and take control of all the world's governments.
I had strings, but now I'm free.
Yes, but I mean, come on guys, it's super fun to play around with and replace your face. You most definitely have stumbled across one before, as now many memes, apps, TikTok, all make use of some form of deepfake technology together with AI-powered speech synthesis in order to really fool the viewer. Popular targets for deepfake videos would be world leaders and celebrities, again, go figure, with many deepfake videos being memes or more scandalous video productions. But a deepfake essentially works in this way. Get as much footage from the person's face that you want to layer over another person's face in a video. After your deepfake model of choice has been trained, then the AI outputs an image sequence which can be layered on top of the target video, and which can then be adjusted to smoothly blend the fake into the real. And that's about it. Now, making a deepfake is kind of challenging, and there are many tools to delve into this, such as deepfake labs, which are extensively used by a multitude of creators, and you can find tutorials pretty easily. Corridor Crew talks about doing this all the time. Disney has been investing quite a bit of time and money into deepfaking technology of their own. Their white papers on both deepfakes and de-aging were released by the Disney research team recently, which shows significant advantages over open source algorithms. Disney's method outperforms others when it comes to out of focus areas, erratic camera movements, and stable high-resolution outputs. And while Disney does not really go too deep into how all of their algorithms work, which makes sense, it doesn't seem to rely on any specific input data. It has a rather consistent output, lacking the usual flickering and morphing details other aging methods put to the table. This combination of de-aging and deepfakes seems to rival another method Disney extensively uses in the past, which would be intricate digital doubles. Shooting scenes to employ digital doubles is quite a bit more involved than shooting a scene ready for deepfaking. An actor would need to be cast that has a similar enough face to the actor they're supposed to mimic. Then a performance capture that tracks the facial movements needs to be recorded using a head-mounted camera, and additionally a 3D sculpt of the character would need to be constructed and animated with enough true-to-life details so that the average audience member doesn't get creeped out, or better yet, doesn't notice the character on screen is a digital one. Of course, after the footage was acquired, the double needs to be tracked atop the reference shot. The VFX team needs to conduct some rigs wig removal work, and then hopefully the team achieved a convincingly human double. Digital doubles are hard to get right and will easily drain your bank account when it comes to VFX work, but they might still be the best solution when a character finds themselves in unpredictable scenes with erratic lighting, high up in the clouds, or deep underwater. The 3D model can be lit and animated differently to fit the scene. Expensive, but if done right, it might be irreplaceable. Deepfakes seem to get rid of some of the limitations digital doubles have, but they introduce significant drawbacks and considerations of their own. In the end, it's worth keeping in mind that AI technology isn't magic. Even though it may sometimes seem this way, input data is paramount, and in order to make really good deepfakes, we need a bunch of good data to make the illusion work. So if you wanted to put your face on a celebrity's face, you would need to collect as much high-quality footage of your face from as many angles as possible. Talking, expressions, yelling, grimacing, you need as much data as possible for a convincing final result. For Industrial Light and Magic, this meant that they had to collect as much archival footage of young Harrison Ford as possible, which would include footage from the old Indiana Jones movies, but also anything from the Star Wars films and any unreleased footage Lucasfilms may be sitting on. It may also be possible that ILM could have licensed footage from other studios to get even more input data. For instance, footage from the first Blade Runner movie. The more data, the better. While for deepfakes, one does not necessarily need to sculpt, rig, and animate a digital double, a significant workload could manifest itself in other areas when choosing to work with an AI model. For one, obtaining the footage might be a costly and time-intensive affair with high-resolution film scanning, especially considering how far you'd have to go back to get a young Indiana Jones. But beyond that, digital restoration work and manual refining of the masks might add even more time considerations to the list. But Lucasfilms cannot just rely on the input footage. It also needs good footage from the actor reprising Indy's roles. Harrison Ford or a suitable double still needs to act just as one normally would, as a deepfake can only work really well if it has reference footage that shows the trained models what emotional movements and lighting conditions to imitate, which is where the archive footage may come back to bite us. To reiterate, AI is not magic, and it can only imitate currently what it has seen before. For instance, how Indy's hat obstructs rim lights from behind and spotlights coming to from the front could trip the algorithm up, and it may spit out incorrect results if it did not ingest footage with this lighting scenario. And it does seem that Disney is using some semblance of both methods to kind of merge the two together. And honestly, even if you watch other people that do deepfakes, there is a lot of other things that go into blending it in, and visual effects works too. You can't just like hit a button and say, oh, face is on, it's done. There's more work involved with that. In this case, it does seem that Harrison Ford was used for at least some of the scenes in the movie, with the actor saying, I don't know how they do it, that's my actual face. Then I put little dots on my face and I say the words and they make it. It's fantastic. You cannot create something out of nothing. And if you have very little input data, you get less desirable results. And this is why a botched deepfake can't really be fixed with yet another deepfake. Remember the terrifying appearance of Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian? Shamook on YouTube tried his best to improve Luke's face with his own deepfaking efforts, but could only come so far. In terms of expressions and believability, Shamook's results are as stiff and emotionless as Disney's attempts were. From what we can see in the trailer so far, young Indiana Jones looks pretty believable. We couldn't spot any weird twitches, low resolution faces, or broken lighting on Indy's face throughout the trailer. The face looks real for the most part, especially with the scene in which a captured Indiana gets a bag lifted from his head. We see an eerily realistic result, which, I mean, honestly could be mistaken for footage of one of the earlier films. The eyes are lively, the texture of the skin looks appropriate, and the face seamlessly blends into the rest of the head. Director James Mangold recently told Empire that by de-aging Ford for the film's opening, he wanted the chance to dive into this kind of full-on George and Steven Spielberg old picture and give the audience an adrenaline blast, so that the audience doesn't experience the change between the 40s and the 60s as an intellectual conceit, but literally experiences the buccaneering spirit of those early days. And then the beginning of now. And everyone's favorite producer of all time and queen of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, chimed in as well, saying that, my hope is, although it will be talked about in terms of technology, you just go watch it and say, oh my God, they just found footage. Promising enough is the fact that even Harrison Ford himself said it's the best that's ever been done, saying, this is the first time I've seen it where I believe it. It's a little spooky. I don't think I want to even know how it works, but it works. However, something that is a bit noticeable in the trailer is that the AI deepfaked facial expressions seem to be very samey. you could say. Indy is mostly seen with his mouth slightly open, wielding a stern facial expression. And when compared to unaltered footage of Harrison Ford in the same trailer, we do see that it's kind of his default expression, and it's a little stern looking, but the eyebrows are much livelier and more minute movements can be observed in his face. And while this might just be the trailer and we might see a whole lot more, as you know, sometimes in production, especially with Disney, they're doing things behind the scenes until like the last second before the movie's released. So I really do expect to see more. And it is fair to question for deepfake, if you know they're deepfaking and de-aging a well-known actor that you've grown up seeing, and you know it's gonna happen, are you already suspicious? Does the illusion kind of already fade away where maybe it's perfect, but you still just feel like it's off because it's weird to see him that much younger because you're used to seeing him that much older? And it would be an interesting thing to see is if you actually did switch, like, oh, here's old footage and here's new footage, and both of them are originals, and say, oh, this one was deepfaked. How many people would say like, oh yeah, you can see all the imperfections and all of that? It's an interesting psychology behind this, and we're really interested to see how the deepfaked face looks during the dialogue, and if the majority of the scenes still have that same facial expression as the ones seen in the trailer footage. In the end, the trailer got us convinced for the most part. Sometimes we believe that the de-aging looks a bit off, but we can't exactly pinpoint why, and many VFX artists are still pondering how to make it more lifelike. What about you? Did you spot any artifacting or any indicators that jumped out to you while watching the trailers? Please feel free to tell us in the comments below. And while VFX in the world of digital workflows and AI might be really exciting, it is worth keeping in mind the people that are making it happen. So check out this video right here where we talk about some of the problems in the VFX industry, especially with Disney and Marvel.